Restarted the stream here. Looks like we have some internet issues. It's been really, the connection has really been jumping around today on the stream. 1 minute it's fine, the next minute we've got dropped frames. We've started with e4 and I wanted to play, honestly, Mule Skinner's move order is weird. I mean, I played e4, he's a French defense player, and then I played d3 because I wanted to play queen e2, but I wanted to kind of avoid c5. So I was thinking if I play d3, he'll play d5, but he didn't. He played c5. So now we're stuck playing the King's Indian attack. But actually, I don't mind playing the King's Indian attack against the French. So I think this is kind of inconsistent, Mule Skinner. It's inconsistent. Like, why did you play c5 on move 2 if you're going to play d5 on move 3? That's weird, you know? I mean, here you are like avoiding playing the French against the King's Indian attack, but then you're like going back into the French with d5. I mean, I thought the point would be to do one of these like Sicilian type of setups with like knight c6 and g6, bishop g7. But now you're transposing back into the French, which is like what I wanted in the first place, so that's cool. It's okay by me. We're back now. The mysteries of the stream connection are beyond me. I don't know why sometimes it goes down, and other times, you know, the next minute you restart the stream and you never have another problem. It's very difficult to say. So King's Indian attack against the French. I like the fact that Mule Skinner has played c5 and d5, because I know what I'm doing against that. I don't normally play the French, play the King's Indian attack, but I know how to play it in certain instances. He's also committed his knight to f6. There are some good lines for black in the French against the King's Indian attack, where you play something like knight c6, bishop d6, and knight e7, for example. I've seen Grandmaster Alexander Goldin and other people playing that particular line. I think that's quite a good line. Mule Skinner is going into you know, what's essentially like the famous game that Fischer won against this Mongolian guy in his My 60 Memorable Games. Do you guys remember the name of that opponent? Bobby Fischer playing the King's Indian attack. My 60 Memorable Games. I can't remember the name of his opponent, but very, very famous, like the most famous King's Indian attack game ever. Came out of this variation. It's kind of the classic King's Indian against the French. Hi, I want stream chess. Like, any suggestion for me? Just don't do simultaneous at the same time as me. Everybody started trying to do simultaneous at the same time. No, I'm just kidding. Well, you know, my suggestion would be to try to do something that's instructive, rather than just playing bullet chess. You know, I think it's useful if you make your stream beneficial, constructive. But I can't read your name. Can you guys tell me who that is? Let me see. If I highlight it, I can probably read it. Tom, YouTube. Okay. It's not Tom Bartel, otherwise known as Spinal Tap Chess. Mule Skinner, what are you thinking about here? Ah, you could castle or you can not castle, right? you can think about not castling and playing something like more flexible. b6, bishop b7. I've seen people try to do stuff like b5, but that's actually kind of shaky. Speak of the devil. Mule Skinner went right into what I was just talking about. Yeah, I think the problem with this might involve like me being able to open it with c4 in some lines. I could take on d5. Taking on d5 and playing c4 at some point is an interesting tactical possibility. I mean, if I play e5, I just transpose the lines where b5 makes sense. But the downside of b5 is some kind of idea of me taking on d5. I need to dial up International Master Igor Foigl in Boston and ask him what the best move order is here for white, because I've seen him rip a lot of people apart. They try to do this. One interesting question is c3 even a good idea for white? Well, tactically, I think taking is right here. What am I going to do if he takes back with the pawn? c3 and d4. Still not sure if I'm supposed to take first. I could play rook e1, kind of a waiting move. I've seen Foigl do some weird stuff, even involving knight b3 really early. Because of course the c5 pawn might be a target in some lines. But I think I'm supposed to take here. Now he has two choices, knight takes or pawn takes. There goes the voice. It's understandable, the Mag Mercerin, right? Understandable why I would forget that particular name. Yeah, now I'm thinking, this is almost like a Rubinstein position. There was a Rubinstein game where he exploited the structure by Akiba Rubinstein, the Polish genius. There was a game where he exploited the structure by doing d4 quickly. And I'm just thinking, like, maybe I could even do d4 straight up, you know, as a temporary pawn sacrifice. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? c4 is another idea, trying to pry open the long diagonal. I think that's also quite interesting here. My concern is that it might be slow. So d4. I'm not convinced by this. You know, if I play d4, say c4, knight e5, that's what I was thinking. d4, c4, knight e5, knight takes d4, knight takes c4, b takes c, queen takes d4, for example, is an interesting line. Or The only thing is his bishop at c8 coming out. If c4, white needs to do something here dramatically fast. I mean, rook e1 is also not a ridiculous move. Kind of standard move in this position. But I'm just concerned it's a little bit too lame. We need to do something decisive. c4. Let's say he just plays b takes c4, d takes c4. That actually looks pretty good for me. What am I going to do though? Like c4, b takes c4, d takes c4, d4. Am I going to pull the trigger on knight e5? Knight takes e5, bishop takes a8, bishop g4. Complications may not be unfavorable for black. Really not convinced by this. Now somehow Rubinstein played a real quick knight e5. Maybe that's the secret here. d4, knight e5. I mean, the variation I was talking about, I just don't have that much time. But in a similar structure, Rubinstein did something like knight e5. I was analyzing c4, knight e5, knight takes d4, knight takes c4. Knight on d takes c4. B takes c4, queen takes d4. And then trying to evaluate that position. I guess I'm threatening knight takes c4 again. It's a messy situation. Maybe I have it. Sleepy Mario, I think the best way to do this is just know it cold, like my friend Feugl. It's basically a kind of, it's a Tarrasch. It's like a Queen's Gambit Tarrasch. You know what? I guess this move is essential, but the a4 idea is in the air. Very, very powerfully in some situations. We're going to try to blast the long diagonal, believe it or not. I never play this opening very much, so I'm not up on this, but it certainly seems interesting. You have to do something. You have to strike quickly when they play this b5. I mean, it's possible there's other plans with c4. I'm just not sure that it's the right situation for that. Yeah, I mean, the c4 thing was, the thing that bothered me about it was, like, you know, b takes c, d takes c, d4. If I play knight e5, I think he could try to sacrifice the exchange with knight takes e5, bishop takes a8, bishop h3. That bothers me a little bit. You know, so that's really critical. Take, d4, and maybe I'm miscalculating there. I mean, I might have knight takes d4 actually, winning a pawn. Knight takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop takes a8 is an exchange sacrifice also, which might not be quite as dynamic for black. That's unclear too. Knight takes d4 like bishop h3, or we'll look at it after the game. Queen b6. Okay. Is this where a4 could possibly come in? Something like a4. Obviously, knight takes d4 is a problem. a4 is interesting even here. I'm concerned it's a little bit slow. Queen b6 kind of aiming at my f2. I mean, now c3, he's dropped the protection of d5. So I could play c3. There's also rook e1. But I guess I can't do it as long as he has rook e1, knight takes d4. There's some complicated lines like rook e1, knight takes d4, knight takes c4, b takes c, bishop e3. That's like absurd. What's the word? Absurd. Rook e1. Ultra funkadelic move. It weakens f2 though. If knight takes e5, I've got a problem with f2. So rook e1. Knight takes e5, d takes e, knight g4. And he's got all this pressure. I just can't play it. The immediate, you know, I could take on c6 and then play rook e1 maybe. That's reasonable. His queen is misplaced on c6. But I'm trading off a strong knight, and I don't know if it's worth it. Knight takes c6, queen takes c6, rook e1. I actually had a game like this in the World Open like 17, 20 years ago against the 2200, I remember. We got this Rubinstein kind of attack going on. It feels wrong to take on c6 though. c3, I just don't know if that's a move I need to play. You know, he's got time to develop after that, which seems like an error, you know, for me. So let's do it. Now what? Knight f3, allowing knight e4. Rook e1. Maybe this was too slow. Probably this was too slow. But that's life. What am I going to do? Knight f3 to e5. c3. Rook e1. Developing a piece on the open file. I really need to open it up somehow. The problem is like b3 is too slow. c3 followed by b3. a4. a4 allows b4. Now that's interesting. Maybe we're getting somewhere like a4, b4, b3, c3, sort of like knight c4. Some kind of tricks based on that. It's quite interesting. You've got to play energetically for white here. If I had all the time in the world, I mean c3, a4, we'd be like winning, but we're breaking it up really nicely. I just feel like this is too slow. Just a little too slow. c3. He's getting away. Of course, I could play f4. There's also knight f3, simply, which is an awfully natural move in this position. I think that's got to be the way to go here. We're going to allow knight e4. We can always kick him out. This queenside stuff I was talking about is just too slow. We get our bishop out. There's nothing too exciting here, but we also have knight g5, maybe. Yeah, that's simple. It could be simple and good. Simple and good. The controversial knight g5. My original plan was knight e5. It's like a Towerish Queen's Gambit. Very, very similar. Knight g5. I don't know, guys. All right. I don't know what else to do, but we've got to kind of lock on this backwardness along the e file. I'm not sure he doesn't have enough compensation, though, in terms of counterplay. But we got to strike while the iron is hot here. If I give him another move or two to consolidate, he'll just be better. I didn't see anything real clear with knight e5. Like Plucro was saying, he has a lot of space on the queen side. No, f3 loses a piece to bishop g4 loses a piece, or just waste time. So, you know, he could play f3 and bishop e6, but I think f3 would be a useful move. Bishop g4 and back to e6, but it would just be a waste of time for black. So, yeah, he has compensation. I mean, he has this queenside space. That should compensate for his discomfort along the e-file, basically. You know, I think the better player probably wins here. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe White's got something, and maybe this is real. It looks a little easier for me to play. My king is a tiny bit safer, maybe, with this bishop. A very good defender. Typical King's Indian bishop. It's a good attacker. It's a good defender. Very valuable piece. I mean, if I take on e6 in the long run, I think that his king will be a little loosened by having to make this capture here. And I can directly build up with queen e2 and bishop h3. So it could work out for White. Only the shadow knows. I mean, this is kind of a weird move. But I guess I have to play an inner position. I mean, c3. Anyway. And now we start to think like Nimzovician things. Bishop f4. And we'll do our best Gadakamsky imitation, I guess. Maybe I should play bishop h3 first. Kind of tie him down. I don't know. I don't know, this may be a wrong move. Maybe the wrong move. Just keep saying the same thing over and over again. Maybe it will make sense. I'm having hallucinations that he can play bishop c7 in this position. Looks like a really classic game so far. Bishop b6. Well, we're not going to allow the e5. Not today. Not any day. That's our big hope. Maybe we have to be careful. I wanted to play a3. I mean, hell, I could play f4 if I have to. If I have to play f4, I'll do it. You know, I'd rather maintain more flexibility, but if that's what it's going to take, you know. Bishop f4, b4. He has a little bit of counterplay. Excellent game by Muleskinner, playing masterfully. Now bishop e6. Well, maybe I should just do bishop e3 and like preempt that, you know. If we can't stop e5, we'll just deaden its effect. Because bishop f4, I don't know why I was concerned about bishop f4. All right. Whatever. Deadening the effect. Muleskinner has gotten faster lately. For some reason I thought Muleskinner was like an old guy. But with his comment today that he's never faced b3 in the French, I'm beginning to think he's not an old guy. Like me. And he's playing faster lately. Definitely picked up speed. Deadening the effect of e5. It's a good game. h5. I don't know. h5 is like a crazy move to confuse me in time pressure or something. I'm not sure I should play h3, but he was threatening knight g4. h5 is a radical move that just randomizes the situation pretty greatly. It's weakening and dangerous for both sides. It's basically upping the ante. It looks very, very weakening. Wow. Muleskinner, I was just going to borrow that. I hope you don't mind. Kamsky would be proud of this game. It's my most Gotta-like game in a long time. You do nothing very solidly, and the next thing you know, the opponent is resigning. All right. Oh, don't even think about it. All right. We have a massive threat of rook a7 there. That hurts. Rook a7. Oh no. And bishop takes d5. Alright, Mule Skinner. I just managed to withstand the assault. Mule Skinner found the Well of Youth. He sounds like an old hermit. A Mule Skinner. Let me see this game here. I'm very curious about the opening. If I even did the right thing. So, b5. It's an unusual move. Its score is not good. And Rachmanov played it. Wow. Rachmanov, he's got a great Karpovian style. Niebuhr lost to Kaidanov. Actually, Niebuhr has done this twice, man. That's not a good idea. He lost to Kaidanov and Gleck. That's not smart, man. So e takes d is not the main move. It turns out rook e1 is the main move. But I'm a little concerned about, you know, are these games by transposition? You know, how are we getting this rook e1? Is this move a transposition? a4 is an interesting move as well. So e takes d, and then nobody's played knight takes d5. E takes d. Yeah, so they're both moves existing. I was sort of right. So d4 and c4, and it's like split down the middle. Danielson, nobody there really. None of these are good players except for Danielson. I mean, I guess they're alright. I don't know anything about these guys, but they're just average dudes, like yours truly. Danielson is a GM. So d4, the computer likes d4 best. But c4 is really interesting. But I wasn't convinced by it. You know, actually, I was afraid of this. I don't know why. B takes c, d takes c, and like sacking the exchange here. Is this even viable for black? This was the last variation I talked about, guys, and no one's ever dared to do this, but for black. But it's interesting. Knight takes d4. You know, this deserves further analysis. Bishop takes a8, and then some kind of exchange sacrifice. The computer thinks this is interesting, but it thinks everything's interesting, right? Bishop g4, it's not enough. Queen a4 check, king f8. Now we save our guy, our bishop. Whoa. The engine wants to play queen takes a7. Yeah, that's a move I'm not going to play in a 15-2 game, probably. Very complicated stuff. Never been played before. Everyone has played rook b8 in this position. Apparently a6 is also. So c4 is not so clear. And then finally we have my move d4. I mentioned Feigl and knight b3, and I'm thinking like he might have had a game that went something like castles and then takes and knight b3. That's probably where I saw that happen, yeah. This is definitely what I saw once Igor do with white, get this kind of position and beat a guy. It's a little better for white. And then finally, we have Mule Skinner's variation, c4. And my move is best. So, my move is best. And now he defended about as well as can be done. I mean, the computer likes bishop b7. That's an ugly move to play. So I thought Mule Skinner's move was interesting, but there must be something wrong with it. a4 right away. I considered this, but I dismissed it because of something. I don't know what. Why did I dismiss this move? Not really sure. Why did I dismiss this? So this is very strong, apparently. I looked at this. I even looked at knight takes d4, knight takes c4. This was one of the lines I analyzed. I was looking at this. I don't know if this is best, but I've got bishop e3. Doesn't work, apparently. I've got a5. But this is a mistake, apparently. I have better. Just taking on b5. Threatening knight takes c4. This is complicated enough for you guys. You know, something like this. But I didn't realize just how strong this is for white. It's apparently like overwhelming. Alright guys, let's go on. We've got time for 2 or 3. Not 3. We've got time for 1 or 2 more games. Alright, God of Snooker. Do you play 15 plus 2, 960? I would see no reason why not to do that, Gladys Troll. I would see no reason not to do that. Play the 160. So not a bad game. You know, we had the right concept. I just missed the execution with A4. God of Snooker is a new opponent for me. I don't know what to play. Let's play D4. G6. I've been known to play all different sorts of stuff. In my youth, I used to play a lot of games with E4, D4, C4. Till I lost to Alexander Ivanov like 5 times. In every conceivable variation. Then I started playing that for black. But lately I've been playing more stuff based on... Let's play it, you know. I mean, I haven't played too many King's Indian and this kind of modern lately. It's interesting. So Gladys Troll, I think I would play a 15 plus 2, 960. Maybe next time you want to challenge me to a 960. C5, one of the many variations black can play here. I've played C5, D6. Knight C6 is another line, even E5. I've seen Roman. Once I saw Roman play that like 30 years ago, Roman Ciciashvili. E5 is kind of rare, a variation. So now we have 2 choices. Last time I played this with white against Iveta Rilic, I think I chickened out and I played knight f3. Well, it was like preparation, maybe. Knight f3, queen b6. I won a really nice game. That was years ago. Most of the time I played d5. After knight f3, d6, I guess you're supposed to take on c5 there. Okay, let's just play d5. So black has additional options. I've played this for black sometimes and certainly played against it. You have additional options aside from the normal Benoni. You can obviously transpose to the Benoni, but there's some other stuff black can try. I've faced my good friend Emil Salanci. Used to play e6 and knight h6 all the time. There's e6, knight e7, which I've faced against some strong players and played it myself for black. This move is not, however, considered to be good. This is generally not a good idea in any Benoni situation to play knight d7 because, first of all, you have no protection of d6 if you ever want to play e6. That's hanging all the time. But more importantly, black is blocking the development of that bishop on c8. And in the Benoni, it's really important that you get like an exchange of pieces so your pieces aren't crammed. Knight d7 generally leads to black ending up with problem pieces that are cramped. So that's not a good move. I mean, here he should play knight f6 transposing to some kind of Schmid Benoni, or e6 trying to transpose to a type of modern Benoni, or weird knight e7 or knight h6 Benoni. And I guess that's about it. So after knight d7, I would think white just has a good game. Now, obviously, there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say, or a mule. But, I mean, you know, the 4 pawns attack looks pretty appropriate here, under the circumstances. Maybe we'll go with it. Actually, he could... Yeah, he can't really do anything. We'll go with the 4 pawns attack, play aggressively. 4 pawns attack with the knight on the wrong square on d7. I mean, I can play any number of ordinary moves here. You know, knight f3, bishop e2, maybe even like h3. But I'd rather just develop my knight behind the pawn, you know, in general. f4, e5, this is strategically what white's trying to achieve in the Benoni. You know, this is This isn't about like trying to play like a psycho-aggressive player with 4 pawns attack or whatever. This is just about trying to achieve the strategic goal in the structure, you know. Now he played an interesting plan with this bishop takes c3 and knight f6. Kind of like the so-called Gingy Indian, but black doesn't have quite as good a position as the normal Gingy Indian. He doesn't have a really great control of e4. But on the other hand, if I play bishop d3, he has some weird moves like maybe e5. You know, his position could become viable if my bishops get shut down in this position. So that's our main priority, to make sure that doesn't happen. Make sure the bishops are useful. We have a lot of different plans available. This knight on d7, it's a little sketchy. Can go to b6, like in the Gingy Indian. I'm not thrilled about this, but there's no other really convenient way of protecting my pawn on e4. Everything else was very artificial. Queen d3, queen c2, queen f3. Those squares, that feels to me unnatural. And I played queen a5. I think this is interesting. Again, trying to play, I think he's trying to play the Gingy Indian. Once I sacrificed this pawn against Alexander Ivanov in a similar position, he like got it back on g7 and just kept his pawn. I could certainly sacrifice a pawn. It doesn't look really necessary here. Queen b3 is interesting. It's kind of dangerous for him to take that pawn, to be honest. I don't know. Knight f3, queen takes, check. We could sack a pawn for long-term play, but that's not the way to do it. So his queen gets trapped there. This is probably our last long game today, guys. I might be able to play a blitz game or two after this. Unless this game is short and ends in the next 10 minutes. That'll be our last 15 plus 2 game. White has to stand better here, but it's a very complicated strategic position. Queen b3 looks pretty good. Better than the average Gingy Indian. This is like a kind of slightly inferior Gingy Indian for black. It's playable, but it's better for white. Are we still good in the stream? No one's commenting for a while. Guys, I want to mention my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. We've got a new video up last week analyzing the game Aronian versus Rapport. I always keep pronouncing the name wrong. Now he castled into it. In the Gingy Indian, a lot of times the king actually walks to d8 and c7. And that's actually a safer place for the king in this type of position than on g8, where the dark squares can actually haunt him. Come back to haunt him. I mean, I think this bishop on c1 has a lot of potential here. If he's played f5, as in the Gingy Indian, this bishop is blocked behind this pawn. But as long as I have the potential to play e5 or play f5, then my bishop can get in the game very effectively, or I have enough space to maneuver, you know, something like like this. If you can't lock down my bishops completely, then white is better. Stream is okay. Steam is okay too, Mario. Just kidding. So check out the YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. And if you guys have any questions or comments, or you're interested in lessons, I've got to get back to a couple people who actually emailed me interested in private lessons. My email is videochesstrainer@gmail.com. If you guys do email me and I don't answer you like immediately, I'm pretty busy on the weekends, so usually I don't answer my emails till Monday afternoon or Monday evening. If anybody sends me a message or an email, say on Friday, you might not get a response until Monday. But don't feel hurt. Just I'm streaming 6 days a week, also teaching chess and playing. It's a full-time job. Go away, please. A lot of love lost between DST and Saddest Troll. What else did I forget to mention? Oh, I wanted to thank everyone who's donated via PayPal to the stream and to the YouTube channel, Video Chess Training. All right, B5. This is an interesting try, but I'm not sure I follow. I mean, man, I'm like, wait, where's the bishop on G7? No, there's no bishop on G7. It's a pretty much full pawn sacrifice. I'm just checking like this variation. Takes C4. But it looks like my queen will meander over to D4, where it would become monstrously placed. There are other moves, but they look kind of slow. Castles, B takes C, queen takes C4. That looks nasty. I think I have to take this. So he's just playing Banco style. God of Snooker. He's bullet 1900. I've got to get out of here. It looks like there's no time for C4. Bishop D2. We could play bishop D2. Pawn takes pawn. C4. There's no time for A4. I think that's what I was trying to say earlier. It's a pretty crafty approach by black. E5. He just plays like pawn takes pawn. And I don't know what to do here. Maybe I should play bishop D2. We keep our structure intact. God of Snooker's only used 4 minutes. Comes up with A6 and B5. That looks really strong. I guess I should have played A4 at some point to stop that. Still wouldn't have stopped it though. I mean, he can still do A6 and B5 as a pawn sacrifice. Suddenly black has all sorts of play. Protected passed pawn on C5. Equal material. He's 1788 in classical. He has yet to make a mistake here. Don't really trust my position anymore. This Banco idea is really strong. It's quite a brave plan. Castle's into it, and the Benko on the queen side. Oh man, this is really, really scary. Got all sorts of counterplay. Look at that. Bishop a6. Queen takes a6. Black is just better. Any other Zwischenzugs for me here? Queen c2. This is starting to creep me out, man. Am I just lost here? God of snooker easing. Very little time. The FM never showed up, man. I'm a little bit concerned about this. Like, I'm just lost. He played perfectly. It's going to be another 0 sent upon loss or something. Maybe I have queen b3. Everything looks bad, though. Queen b3. Doesn't work, does it? Queen b3 might work. I don't know, man. This guy is... Never played him before. Looks awfully strong. After the way he played the opening, I thought it was awful for black, but now I'm like lost. Queen takes c4. I went from a good position to lost in like 3 moves. Just lost for white. There's like no defense. Could probably just resign here. So that's some weird move I don't see. I can't make that arrow disappear. So the problem is he can see all this stuff. Like, maybe there's one chance for me, but it's extremely risky. Like queen c1. I'm gonna have to basically not castle and not trade white square bishops. I think this is lost too. I don't expect him to take too long. Yeah, this is just lost for white. Suspiciously strong. Underestimated him. There still is bishop takes a5, bishop takes c4, bishop takes c4, rook takes e5 and e5. Bishop takes a5, bishop takes c4, bishop takes c4, rook takes a5 and e5. It looks really overextended for white. It looks really overextended. I didn't think his best move was queen b6. I mean, it's probably not bad. Probably good enough. Maybe I should play rook b1. Sack his queen or something. Queen a4 was like game over. I could just resign after queen a4. Queen a4, bishop c2, queen c4. He's like resigns. So he played only the second best move here with queen b6. Now I'm clearly worse. Only clearly worse. If I could magically castle illegally, I'd be okay, maybe. Even there, it looks like my king has problems. If I could castle and play h3, put my king on h2, everything would be okay. But Magneto Head said, I love that people in my rating level suddenly play 2400 on stream. Oh, he has queen b5. I see, okay. Yeah, that seems to happen a lot. It's kind of like Zugzwang. Look at this. Just Zugzwang. There's no defense for white here. This is like, look at his pieces. Every piece perfectly coordinated together. No, I mean, I see I'm playing a 1700. I didn't know I was playing a master. But he's extremely strong. Just crushed me. He played a bad opening. But I got a little overambitious. Interesting. It's amazingly how easily you can lose even from a good position. Just a little bit, playing a little bit too optimistically. It can just go totally downhill. I've never seen anyone play bishop takes c3 and castles kingside and play the Benko in the Gingy Indian. But it seems to work pretty well. Yeah, queen c4. Surprise, surprise. Now I'm going to need some kind of miracle here. No, it's just totally lost. What am I going to do? There's like no moves. I'm in Zugzwang. Absolute Zugzwang. Could just give up here. Alright. Anyway, guys, if you want to play a couple blitz games, let's just check this out. I only have time for a couple of blitz games. We can end it here, though. I can't play 14 plus 2. It's time to go, guys. So if somebody wants to play a blitz game or two, another nearly perfect game by black. One inaccuracy. Probably this queen b6 move. A b takes c4 was an inaccuracy. looks like a pretty good inaccuracy. Impressive game there. Yeah, it's pretty weird. That's why I don't like playing new accounts. Really. We don't have any challenges. If anyone wants to play a quick blitz game. It's a strange opening. I don't think this is a variation. Oh, it is apparently played before. I see. I see. So this is actually theory. Ah, that's following the one game in the database here. Queen a5. It's not good for black, but my move was a mistake played by Hubner against Spassky. He played the novelty here. Castles instead of b5. b5 is better right away. And our friend played just castles first. Still looks pretty good, man. b5. He knows this. And already, like, I'm right on the edge of losing. a6, perfect. And now I'm just crushed. I mean, dude, if you were like 2300, it would be normal, but you just crushed me like a dog and you're 1700. It's pretty weird. Alright. I can't play 15 plus 2, guys. Chessy, I don't play 3-0, so Blue Crow, we can play one game and end the stream with that. I don't feel like ending the stream with this weird game. Like I was playing Spassky or Hubner. God of Snooker actually made 2 inaccuracies. He played twice as fast as me too, which is interesting. Oh, let me finish my game. It just keeps challenging me. Keikovsky, I have to go, so I can't play another 15 plus 2 game. Maybe we'll just play one blitz game with somebody before I end the stream for today. I don't know, man. I mean, I think it's suspicious. It is a suspicious game, actually. And the other game I lost today with 0 was not as suspicious as this game. This game is more suspicious to me than the game where a world loser had like 0 inaccuracies, 0 mistakes, 0 blunders. Because of the time use by black and the fact that I don't know the player. Chessy 6-4. 3 plus 2. I don't play 3 plus 2, dude. So we play 5 plus 3, that's the minimum. Blue Crow is playing. He doesn't have time. Nobody wants to challenge, then I'm just going to end the stream. We'll be back tomorrow with Blitz and Classical Chess between 5 and 8 minutes with a small increment. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll be back tomorrow. Bye-bye.